Okay, Maurice, I think we're ready to roll. We've retreated inside again because it was a beautiful sunny day outside, but it's freezing cold outside, so we've come back inside again. So. There's a few basics which are very confusing to grasp because this case has been going, or these cases have been going on for a very long time. And you accumulate an awful lot of debris, which isn't...
Yeah, but I've got to give you a summary.
Yeah.
My troubles today originated from the building that was only 100 yards from where I now live in Taunton.
Right.
And it's the old police station.
Right.
They've just moved, and incidentally they're looking for a night watchman. And I thought, do you know, I could do that job. And I know the inside of that police station off the back of my hand.
Yes, I expect
because,
so.
you see, my troubles started when I was going to court for firearms with a flintlock. They came to my house one day at night to interview me because people had reported that Dad and me are coming back from Cornwall with no lights and landing on Taunton Racecourse. He went off to the woods and I went back to our house, and the police came swarming. And I was cleaning this flintlock, put it up on and they said, we want you down at the station. And so I got up and put it up on the gun rack. Well, they turned that into an assault case with a firearm. So I knew this was important because I was a veterinary surgeon at the time and I had to maintain my license. And so I found my way into the police station and found my way into the third drawer down on the left with a broken brass handle and borrowed the chief superintendent's notebook. Why? Because he'd just given evidence in the adjourned hearing that he was in charge of the biggest manhunt Taunton had ever known with the dogs. And I said to them, oh yes, okay, so you have Bruno and George and so on, because I was the vet for the dogs, right? And it all started from there because, you see, it got to the stage where, it's a very long story, but I produced a notebook after he'd given his evidence in chief. And I flicked the pages over and I said, now what would you have written in your notebook on the 4th of June? And the whole mood changed. Policemen started to fill the whole room. And then I threw it out of the window and it was snowing. And the funniest thing to this day, we're talking early 70s, was seeing 11 policemen in the shower hall running to a little standard doorway like that one there, the standard bedroom door, all trying to get his notebook back. Anyway, I went to Crown Court in Bristol for theft, and to cut it short,
Of the notebook?
Of the notebook.
Right.
And it was exhibit number 6. And nobody wanted to talk about exhibit number 6 until the chief superintendent gave evidence, and it was my turn to cross-examine. And there was a lovely girl on the end of the jury who was writing everything down, obviously a postgraduate, and they were interested in this case. I mean, we had the national press and everything there. And I said, so no one's looked at your exhibit. Could you get it out? And 4th of June, what's written in that notebook? And he said, I'm sorry, but I can't, it's in a foreign language. I said, do you normally write your notebook in a foreign language? And the place was in fits. And I said, it's written in Latin. Olim in Taunton, Tyrone Regnar Band, Saipe Bene Regnar Band. Once upon a time there reigned a tyrant, and his name was, and then I gave the name. He worshipped me and Dad as vets. We could do no wrong. The height of the troubles, his dog got a broken leg, and he came round to me at night with a police car and everything. We had a strictly different relationship, you know, it was wonderful. And I got acquitted, obviously.
So you were a good boy.
But I couldn't give the notebook back. And they have put the boot in, because from there it got so bad, because I won 75% of all criminal prosecutions in Taunton, mainly fast motorbikes and low-flying aeroplanes, as one is known to do. And I won them all. I won the main ones. So I moved. I went over to Guernsey and helped a friend. And they started putting the boot in because they were told to. And I got a higher percentage success rate there. I forget what it was. 80%, something like that. But then I left Guernsey to come and work, to start vetting again, because I went off flying airplanes around the world and so on, being a commercial pilot. But then I got bored with that, and I thought, no, I better go back and do some vetting. So I went to Wales and bought a practice in the Vale of Glamorgan, which is the Vale that was full of farmers just like Somerset. And I thought, oh, I love this. I mean, they have a funny language, but they're lovely people. They're proper farmers looking after their livestock. And I got harassed. And I won 89% of all criminal allegations brought by the South Wales Police. And the 11% they used to have me struck off the veterinary register. Nothing to do with animals. And that is why we are fighting to the death. I am, and they are. Because the evidence within me winning 89 shows the level of criminal conduct that I'm up against.
But the reality today is this has been going on for a long time.
28 years.
There's no tribunal which will hear all this. The satisfaction which presumably you still seek.
I want people to go to jail. And they said, why don't you settle for a large sum of money? At my age, I don't want money. No. I've always been spoilt. I've always had enough money to get by with. I'm never looking for cruises around the world and all that sort of thing.
I remember discussing this with you years ago. The system itself does not prosecute itself. It doesn't do it. It's not there. They're there to maintain the status quo, not to undermine it. So that's you're asking them constantly. Look, you're at fault, and you're asking them to say, as people do in their naivety, oh yes, we're wrong, we're awfully sorry, Mr. Kirk, what can we do for you? They won't do it, will they?
That's a wonderful summing up. I've never heard you say that before, but that is raw fact, and that's what I'm up against.
It is.
Anyway.
And time's ticking on.
So,
you're my age.
So I want to tell you that my civil claim against the 89 incidents, 89% of 113 incidents, motoring, speeding, low-flying airplanes, again, by the way, and so it came to the 8th or the 4th of October 2008 when the retiring judge was in a good mood. And I said, well, I want an affidavit sworn by the police that the files, which were way up to the ceiling of all these, and the fact that their evidence was true and that there's nothing in their data that is false. And I said, yes, well, they can sign that. I said, no, I want the chief constable, because I had my life ruined by the South Wales Police. Divorce, all sorts of things were, and so the person in charge of the police force was made to sign it. That's when things got really ugly. They then said, right, we'll lock him away for life. So they fabricated the machine gun trial. And this was a lovely wartime First World War Battle of the Somme on my biplane, which was a replica single-seater pusher with a big engine behind. And it's famous just for the Battle of the Somme and just before, and soon got superseded by the other ones because everything was moving so fast. But it could outturn the Eindecker, the famous German one, and it saved us for the time it was needed. Well, I have the only replica in Europe, and I was asked to fly her at the Farnborough Air Show, and then I sold her because I get bored with air shows. And suddenly, out of the blue, we're having cups of tea in the garden on the 20th of June 2009. I had the gun dogs all around me, my little Genevieve up against me, or she might have been sitting on my knee. I didn't know, she's up against, we were painting or drawing or something. And a police helicopter, and cars everywhere, policemen everywhere, 25 I counted. And I said, I think somebody wants to talk to me. And we all looked up, and they suddenly put reverse gears and they'd gone. And I said, right, I'll go to France tomorrow morning and try and work out what they're up to this time. Because they didn't arrest me. The next morning I'm taking little Jenny to pick up school in the village, and out they come over the village, over the walls and everything, in cars and at handcuffs, and I'm locked up for 8 months. And I come to court for the Firearms Act, 1968 Firearms Act, being in possession of a machine gun. But I'd sold it. And so the jury in the pub afterwards were laughing their heads off because 8 of them pulled me into the pub afterwards. The farce, the whole court case was just public disgrace. And the gun was there on the table, and each day a prohibited weapon, that's what I'm being done for, a prohibited weapon, right? Section 5. And each day, and Casper, my son, my oldest son, he said, when they took me away in handcuffs each day for the 2-week trial, the sergeant would come in, pick it up, put it over his shoulder, and walk out down the street to put it in the police station. I mean, and the jury said, but we made our mind up on the second day when the evidence started, because they called in the chap who bought it and the chap who sold it to you. And they said, well, why aren't they in prison in the dock with me? I mean, and they had Plant on the jury, so they had to go the full time period for the majority verdict. And just a few days before the trial, it may have been 2 weeks, 3 weeks before the trial, I don't remember, a female rang up, and my wife at the time gave me a message later, a policewoman, somebody rang about buying the machine gun. And I said, well, that's sad, I've sold it. And she rings back. I answer the phone. And she rabbits on, and I realised she's a policewoman. It was obvious. And so as the conversation ended, and I said, I'm terribly sorry, it's sold. Or something like, it's a pity because it worked. And some expression like that. And in court, she's obviously on maternity leave because they brought a man in behind the screen. And I said to Kirsty at the time, I said, they've even switched that witness. It'll stop at nothing. They had to give me the mandatory 10-year prison term. So, I win that, which makes life even worse. I am then sectioned under the Mental Health Act to live indefinitely as a MAPA Level 3, Category 3, very dangerous person.
Tell us again what MAPA means.
Multi-agency public protection arrangements.
Mm-hmm.
And I've just been released from prison, still under the MAPA control, which my family considered quite disgusting. And
we're going to stop you again there because we want to start at where we are today.
Okay.